Dear colleagues, it's my great pleasure to introduce you Dr. Evelin Bishof, professor at Shanghai University of Medicine and Health Sciences, and also the director of the Sheba Longevity Center in Israel. Hello, Eva.
Hi, Alexei. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
What is the longevity medicine, and how did it appear?
Great question. It's a very new field, kind of a brand new field, or one could say we are just still shaping longevity medicine as a discipline. Although many of us and many other doctors already label themselves as longevity physicians, simply because there is the need also to market, as there is requests from patients very often for a longevity physician because they hear about it from different sources. So longevity medicine is something that appeared based on the great development of aging research, something that you are pioneering as well. So gerosciences brought, probably in the great combination and symbiosis with AI technologies and other tools, they brought together these fields that at some point of time really needs to be more embedded in the clinic. So translation from bench to bed, or in that case, really from maybe from the lab to the wearable day to day. And longevity medicine, or as we now call it in our Healthy Longevity Medicine Society, which is a society created by doctors and for doctors and healthcare professionals and associates, right? We are not trying to separate ourselves by any means, but there was a need also to create a niche for doctors to write recommendations, guidelines, create evidence base, quality control, and also for us to have a circle to discuss case studies, since there is no like a standard guide like in other disciplines. And we define healthy longevity medicine as optimizing health span along the lifespan by targeting age-related processes. That definition came up by the executive committee of this society, and we hope that it will encapsulate everything, or at least the majority of what the field is all about. So we are really not about extension primarily, or focusing only on the lifespan, but really on optimization of the health span. And this is being done by targeting the age-related processes along the entire lifespan. So it is not something only for old or only for young people, depending on how we define also old and young. So that's pretty much where we are at and where it came from.
Could we discuss some examples of medical centers that work according to this paradigm?
So I think the paradigm was really established coming from the hallmarks of aging and how we can implement it and translate it into something actionable with the humans. We have phenomenal data partially on rodents and also some smaller model animals and cells, of course. It's still quite a bit of a challenge to conduct randomized controlled trials, especially placebo-controlled, simply because, or not simply, but for among others, because number one, the field still does not have exactly decided which of the validated biomarkers should be used for those trials to be conducted. And although we have a really big amount of of those biomarkers right now that we could choose from, it's still very difficult to actually have the integrity of such a clinical trial, because the monitoring and the amount of data is so humongous. We have continuous monitoring, we have continuous tracking, we have sensors. This requires a very high capability platform to encapture all the data, and then very high level data analytics, mostly with machine learning and artificial intelligence, to actually make sense out of it. So I think those things are all keeping us still a little bit far from real implementation into the clinic. Although what we can definitely do already is the diagnostics, and it makes a lot of sense to conduct those diagnostics for the purpose of knowing and for the purpose also of accelerating the finding of those biomarkers that will be actionable in randomized controlled trials, so that we can come up faster with validation of actual therapies as usually people are demanding.
But what about examples of such medical centers? For example, does Fontaine of Life Clinic or HLI, or maybe some clinics in Singapore, in other places, already ready to implement this paradigm?
Right, absolutely. So we have quite a large number, I would say, now on longevity centers, which are primarily private centers in the world, and you just mentioned some of them, and there's many more. Just to mention, maybe Atria as a very good example of very comprehensive diagnostics, and of course Fountain, HLI, and now others that are implementing it, or Longevity Center, also Europe, right? They are not only US or Singapore centered. Asia is of course developing very, very quickly, and that will be also a very important partner, because ethnicity and so on, it plays a major role, and they all implement some sort on some set, right, based on their discretion of such longevity diagnostics. Those who can embark on that journey with those clinics are very fortunate, I would say, right, because they can definitely already create their own longitudinal healthcare database, and they gain a lot of information on themselves and how they can optimize their health. Also, which makes me, coming from the public sector, extremely happy, or even more happy than the fact that we have more and more private clinics, which is also very positive in my opinion. But we also have now developments of longevity centers or longevity departments in public hospitals, in academic hospitals, which has, of course, a whole different range of challenges and restrictions and things that will slow it down by the regulatory or by the costs, not by the medical or scientific aspects. But at the same time, I hope that maybe the translation will be a bit faster, just by the fact that there will be a multidisciplinary team. There is always this contact immediately, basically just next door, the next department. And there is a regulatory immediately to conduct clinical trials. And there is a network that is already being formed of those public clinics. And yes, Shiba Medical Center is one of them. And there are two others that are very prominent already, which is Mayo Clinic, that is already partially having this in their executive plan, and in Singapore in the Alexandra Hospital of the university. So and many more to come. So this is a very, very powerful statement, I think, for the whole world, to see that academic centers are slowly but surely tapping into it. Universities are helping in it as well. So I think, as you mentioned at the beginning, the paradigm shift from being this only a theory to something that people can see that it's happening is a very nice development.
You have established a center in Shiba Medical Center, and could you tell us a few words about what new diagnostics and therapies are going to implement?
Sure, with pleasure. So I will just give a very brief overview, because it's very granular. It would be a whole center with several stations that are targeting. We divided it by areas. So we have the brain area, where we are measuring cognition, dementia, neuropsychological testings, and also some advanced cognition testings, fully automated ones. Then there is a station, or besides, also kind of in this station, there's also the sleep station, with measurements of like the EEG waves and the sleep quality, and wearables, devices, sensors. Then there is also, of course, the functional diagnostic set from all the functional tests that are needed, from 6-minute walk to grip to balance to whatsoever, VO2 max. Then we have our station for the labs, of course, labs that are very abundant, and of course implement parameters that will be necessary to calculate the biological age based on blood, and other testing for biological markers such as epigenetics and telomere lengths, and probably several other clocks. And last but not least, of course, we will have few specialized diagnostics for men and women separately, targeting primarily in the beginning of our work on menopause and andropause. So we will have endocrinologists, gynecologists, endocrinologists, urologists working with those two groups of biological sex and gender. And we will have targeting of a microbiome in the oral cavity, and also then the testing. Bone density and several other markers that are important for sarcopenia. I think with this, I covered most of the fields that we are doing. And of course, we want to use those data that the patient might already have. So we will not have a full body imaging, for example, simply because it's expensive. And this is a department for free. So or almost for free. So the point here is that if the patient, for example, would have his or her own MRI of the brain, we would, for example, also suggest or do, for scientific reasons, also the brain age quantification with the imaging. So, and of course, hopefully expanding, right, as we go, hopefully also expanding the assortment of biomarkers, of biological aging clocks, and other testings that would make sense.
No doubts that we need a new type of specialists to support this new area, and how we could educate medical doctors to be longevity medical doctors.
It's a great question, and as you know, I'm extremely passionate about it, and so are you. This is why we developed under the initiative and supervision of Professor Zhavorenkov, the Longevity Education Hub, and the course on longevity 101 and 201, so the introduction and the extensive course that was translated now to almost all languages that are covering 90% of the world, and it's a beautiful thing. Over 6,000 doctors now took the course and are certified, CME certified. So that's actually exactly a major step, although it's still not enough by far. Therefore, we are now moving towards implementing the curriculum of longevity medicine into medical schools, and each medical school will probably demand some sort of adjustment, because they are either implementing it into all the courses, like in cardiology, oncology, and so on, and some of the universities will implement it in the panel, they say, like in the part of semester on neurosciences and aging. So there are different demands, but longevity medicine is, I think, extremely flexible in that sense, and that is exactly necessary to first recognize that longevity medicine is not only like additional or CME education, has to be embedded in the curriculum. Secondly, it will have to also go through a quality control, so that there will be exams and certifications done by higher level societies. There is just a question now that we are having, if we should put this as a subspecialty first in internal medicine, or should we aim rather for a fully distinct specialty there are arguments for and against. We will see. Either way, having the chance of being really trained, specialized, and having an exam to actually then be able to call the doctor, him or herself, longevity physician, will be important. Another great thing by the fact that public hospitals are implementing longevity is that at some point of time we'll have interns and residents hopefully rotating in those departments, right? So the bedside, let's say, or the station side teaching will be hopefully also developed. Yeah, that's kind of our roadmap.
Thank you so much, Eva. I wish all of us success in this new kind of medicine. I think it's a future medicine that could change the world, because it's it's about prevention and also healthy longevity, and not only about symptoms of specific diseases. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well, and thank you for all the great work that you are doing, not only in informing and educating, but especially in research and bringing this field forward.